Welcome back to another episode of Donnie's podcast, and today, we're diving into the legendary story of Apple, the company that changed the way we interact with technology. You probably use Apple products every day, whether it's your iPhone, MacBook, or iPad. But have you ever wondered how it all started? What's the secret behind this billion-dollar company? In this episode, we're going to explore everything about Apple from the very beginning to where it is today, all in a fun, simple, and understandable way. Let's rewind the clock to 1976, when Apple was born in a small garage in Cupertino, California. Imagine this: three guys, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and a guy named Ron Wayne, decide they're going to make a personal computer. But this wasn't your typical computer. They wanted to build something that was easy to use, that regular people could own and operate, not just engineers and tech experts. That was the big dream. Wozniak had the technical skills, creating the hardware, while Jobs was the visionary who saw how personal computers could change the world. The first product they made was the Apple I. It didn't look like much. In fact, it was a circuit board, not even a full computer, and it didn't come with a monitor, keyboard, or casing. It was literally just a bare-bones piece of tech for hobbyists to build on. But even with its limitations, the Apple I got people's attention. They sold it for around $666, which might sound like a small price for a computer today, but back then, it was a bold move. Fast forward a year, and Apple releases their next big thing, the Apple II. This time, it was complete, a fully functional computer with color graphics. The Apple II was revolutionary because it wasn't just for techies anymore. It was user-friendly, which made it accessible to businesses, schools, and even regular families. Apple went from being a startup in a garage to a company with major potential. By 1980, Apple was listed on the stock market with its IPO, and people were eager to get their hands on Apple shares. The future looked bright, but success isn't always smooth sailing. In 1985, something unexpected happened. Steve Jobs was forced out of the company he co-founded. Can you imagine that? The guy who had the vision, the passion, and the drive to create Apple was now gone. Apple's leadership was handed over to someone else, and for a few years, things weren't looking so great. The company's products started to feel outdated, and Apple's share of the market began to shrink. But if you know anything about Steve Jobs, you know that this wasn't the end of the story. After being kicked out of Apple, he didn't just disappear. Instead, he went on to start a new company called Next, which developed powerful computers for businesses, and bought a little animation studio called Pixar. The rest, as they say, is history. Pixar went on to produce blockbuster animated films like Toy Story, and eventually, Disney bought Pixar, making Jobs a billionaire. Meanwhile, Apple was in trouble. The company was losing ground to Microsoft, who was dominating the computer industry with its Windows operating system. But in 1997, Steve Jobs returned to Apple. It was a pivotal moment. Apple was on the brink of bankruptcy, but Jobs didn't just save the company, he transformed it. He streamlined operations, focused on simplicity, and set a new direction for the brand. In 2001, Apple released the iPod. This wasn't just a regular music player, it was the first device that allowed you to carry thousands of songs in your pocket. The iPod was sleek, stylish, and changed the way people experienced music. It was a massive hit, and it marked the beginning of Apple's rise to dominance in the tech world. But Jobs wasn't done yet. He was always thinking ahead, and in 2007, Apple changed everything again by releasing the iPhone. The iPhone wasn't just another phone, it was a revolution. With its touchscreen, no physical buttons, and internet connectivity, the iPhone was like nothing anyone had ever seen. It changed how we communicated, worked, and lived. Think about it. When was the last time you left the house without your phone? Exactly. The iPhone was so much more than just a phone. It was a pocket-sized computer that connected us to the world in ways we couldn't have imagined before. Apple continued to innovate with new versions of the iPhone, constantly improving the camera, screen, and performance. And it wasn't just phones. Apple also introduced products like the iPad, MacBook, Apple Watch, and AirPods, which took the company into new markets. Apple began to create an ecosystem. Everything from hardware to software worked together seamlessly. If you had an iPhone, a Mac, and an iPad, they all worked like one giant machine. You could start an email on your phone, pick it up on your Mac, and finish it on your iPad. Apple's commitment to design and innovation turned it into more than just a tech company, it became a lifestyle brand. Think about it, when you buy an Apple product, you're not just getting a piece of technology, you're buying into a vision. Apple made tech cool, making it something everyone wanted to have. Their commercials, their stores, their presentations, they all played into the idea that Apple wasn't just a company, it was a part of your identity. But with all this success, Apple still faced its challenges. It had to deal with competitors like Samsung, who was creating smartphones and tablets that rivaled the iPhone and iPad. Then there were legal battles with the US government over things like antitrust laws and the way Apple ran its App Store. Despite these challenges, Apple didn't just sit back. The company has continued to push forward into new areas like augmented reality, AR, healthcare, and even electric vehicles. One of the biggest lessons we can learn from Apple is its ability to innovate. It's not just about being first, it's about being better. Apple has constantly reinvented itself, whether it was turning a failing company around in the 90s, creating groundbreaking products like the iPhone and iPad, or continuing to shape the future with their advancements in AR and health tech. Apple didn't just create products, it created a culture. So, what's next for Apple? Well, we know they're heavily investing in things like wearables, AR glasses, and even healthcare solutions. Apple's already a giant in the tech world, but they're always looking ahead, trying to figure out how they can continue to innovate and change the world. To sum it up, Apple's journey is all about resilience, vision, and pushing boundaries. From a garage startup to a trillion-dollar company, Apple has proven that innovation, perseverance, and great design can lead to incredible things. And if you ever doubt the power of dreaming big, just look at the story of Apple. It's proof that anything is possible if you believe in your vision and keep moving forward. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Donnie's podcast. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Apple, make sure to hit that subscribe button, share this episode with your friends, and stay tuned for more exciting stories. See you next time.